right, welcome back for example 3. We're going to be approximating square roots to the nearest hundredth. So before we just did to the nearest whole number, and now we're going to do it to the nearest hundredth. So let's go ahead and try that. So 141, that would be between the square root of 121 and the square root of 144, right? Okay, so we know that 121, like we can't figure out this, but we know that this is the same thing as 11 squared, not 12. Okay, 11 squared. And this is the same thing as 12 squared. Square root and squared cancel each other out. Square root and squared, that's supposed to be squared. Cancel each other out. We're left with 11 and 12. Okay, so we know that the square root of 141 is between 11 and 12. That's great, but we're supposed to do it to the nearest hundredth. Now, when we do it to the nearest hundredth, there's this like little process. Okay, and what you have to do is first you have to figure out, well, how far apart are these two? Well, these two are 20, all right? Then you have to determine how far apart these two numbers are, 121 and 144. And I don't know that right off the top of my head, so I'm going to subtract. 4 take away 1 is 3, 4 take away 2 is 2. Okay, so then what you do is you take this number and you divide it by this number, 23. So 20 divided by 23, and I could totally figure that out, but because of time, I'm just going to put it into my calculator. All right, 20 divided by 23 ends up being 0.869 5, and that 5's going to round that up to a 7, okay? So then you know that this number is between 11 and 12, so it's going to be 11, and then you add this part to it, 0.86957, and we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. This is the tenth, this is a hundredth, this 9 would round this up. So we'd end up with 11.87. Now that is an approximate answer, so I'm going to put an approximate like this to the square root of 141. Let's go ahead and actually figure out what the square root of 141 is and see how close we are. Square root of 141 is equal to 11.87. Hey, that's exactly what we got. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how we can come up with that number when we take the distance there and then we take the distance between those two, you make a fraction, and boom, there you have it. Okay, let's try this on the next one. We're going to approximate the square root of 200 to the nearest hundredth. So we have to figure out first, what are the two perfect squares? This is between, and I'm going to say it's between the square root of 196 and what's the other one? The one after this would be 225. All right, we know that this is the square root of 14 squared. And we know that this is the square root of 15 squared. Square root and squared cancel each other out. Square root and squared cancel each other out. So we're left with 14. Okay, so we know that it's between 14 and 15. Okay. So that's the whole number. It's going to be 14 point something. And I'm going to guess that it's really going to be closer to 14, probably like 14.1 or 14.2. But let's do this little method and see if we can get pretty close. Okay, so first we have to figure out how far these two are apart, and it's 4. And then the next thing we have to determine is how far apart these two numbers are. So I'm just going to subtract them. 225 minus 196, we borrow, that's a 1. 15 take away 6 would be 9. Borrow again, 11 take away 9 is 2, so 29. So we take this fraction 4 29ths. Take this number on top, 29. And what is 4 divided by 29? I know I could figure that out, but you know what? I'm just going to use this for right now. just to, 4/29 is the same as 0.1379, okay? Then what we do is we combine, we know it's going to be 14, and hey, 14.1. So this is going to be the square root of 200 is approximately, it's not equal, it's approximately 14 point, and we have to round to the nearest hundredth, right? 10th hundredth, that rounds it up, 1/4. So this would be our approximate answer. Let's go ahead and actually figure out what the square root of 200 is using our calculator and see how close our approximate answer is to this, to the actual answer. So square root, oh, that's not it. Square root of 200. What do we have? Enter. And we get 14.14. Oh my gosh, it's so close. That's so cool. All right, well, that is it. I'll see you in a little bit for example 4.